Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel for the next episode in the My Team series. Today I'm joined by a man who once came fourth in FPL and in more recent times has finished in the top 20k 5 times. Bakar, pleasure to have you back on. But I'm going to say this, you've got a lot of work to do. Before we get started looking at your team, let me tell you this. Currently, you are sitting rock bottom of every FPL expert, every guest that we've had on this series, according to Fantasy Football Hub's team rating. You're in 10th, but that was a while ago. Your team has changed since then, of course. We're going to see how it's updated, and I'm sure it'll be doing better when we put it in this time around. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, hi Jack. Hello, welcome to all the listeners and viewers. That was a while back. I mean, my team has drastically changed from that point. For starters, I didn't have Haaland, right? So, the whole structure has changed, and I'm expecting a much healthier rating. And at that point, a lot of the picks in my team, they didn't have their expected minutes adjusted. And now that's fine. I expect myself to have in excess of 92, 93. That would be
Oof.
my guess.
Okay, if you don't know what we're talking about, guys, this right here on screen is the wonderful Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool. What it does is it gives your team, personalized to your team, a rating out of 100. It also does predicted points and a game week rating as well. So you can judge how good your team is. Yeah, Bakar, work to do. But obviously now, just a few days out from the deadline at the time of recording, we need that team rating to be higher. Let's go for it. Who is in goal right now?
Yeah, so it's just Mr. Template being Mr. Template again. Not much of a change. Something's never changed because points are fun, right? I've gone Flecken. Again, he's review approved, so that's another thing in his favor. Uh, I have been considering Flecken and Henderson, but I just don't think there's much between them. I want to pick a 4.5 million keeper. Uh, Looking at some of the data, Brentford, they have finished in the top five teams for the most shots conceded from outside the box in the past three seasons. Yet they've been in the top eight for fewest XG conceded, and this is like spread over the past three seasons. Another thing which sort of favors the Brentford defense over the Palace defense is the fact that Brentford actually have a 4 million backup. Palace don't. And
Yeah.
Crystal Palace's defenders, they tend to do well for BPS accumulation because of their passing distribution accuracy. While at Brentford, they tend to play long, which is why Flecken usually tends to do better for bonus accumulation as opposed to the centre backs and the full backs. So I think Flecken has more chance of hauling. I don't think there's much between them. If someone's looking at an early wildcard, I think I prefer Henderson. I'm going Flecken. It is review approved. I've finally embraced the analytics from last season, so why not?
You know what? That was actually a very, very good, reasoning as to why you're going for Flecken over Henderson. It does seem to be sort of between those two at the 4.5 million price bracket. A few other options in here, as we can see on the right, with the predicted points. All sort of much of a muchness, really. All the 4.5 keepers expected to do relatively similar. So I guess, yeah, you've given a few very good points there as to why you go Flecken. Makes sense.
Yeah. In my earlier draft, I had the Chelsea goalkeeper, but now that Chelsea don't exactly have a nailed 4.5 million to start, I just don't think it's worth the risk.
Yeah.
And in my draft, I'm basically short of cash, so I can only afford a 4.5. And just a couple of reasons that I've mentioned, especially the one with the backup goalkeeper, just sort of clinches it for me.
We'll say Flecken's only 13.6% ownership. It's not template, you know. Henderson as well, not high either, 10%. So
Spoiler alert, some of the most template players in the game, looking at the ownerships, are Saliba, Watkins, Palmer,
yeah,
Salah, Raya. I don't think I'll have any of those.
yeah, exactly. All right, let's go for your subkeeper. Is there anyone in this bracket at all over the entire preseason that has kind of even suggested they might get some minutes, or is it just a dead pick?
It is a dead pick, to be very
Okay.
honest. No, let's just move on because I think it just makes sense to pick the Brentford guy. Actually, for people who are, let's say, who are on Henderson or on some other goalkeeper, I still think the best 4 million keeper to pick is the Brentford guy because Flecken isn't a very good goalkeeper, actually. So Flecken might end up getting dropped. And this guy's, he plays regularly for Iceland. His name is Waldemarsson. So there's every chance that he sort of forces his way into the team at some point during the season. I think he's the
Okay.
best 4 million pick, to be very honest.
Yeah, great insight. Obviously, it makes sense if you have Flecken, but even if you don't, okay, yeah, that's good to hear. Okay, let's move on to the defense.
Yeah, so the defense, I have Trent. Firstly, he's been in my team since day one, hasn't really left ever since. His performance at the weekend just further solidified that starting position for his. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. He has explosive potential, great fixtures. I'm not worried about his fitness. That was the only concern. He's played in preseason. I fully expect him to start. Liverpool's opening fixtures are as good as they get. I'm expecting for him to make a good start.
Do you think they are as good as they get for clean sheets? Just looking at the first three, obviously 4 and 5 are great, but I don't have Trent in my team, and I'm just thinking to myself that with the changes to the bonus point system this year, especially for attacking defenders, I think that clean sheets are more important now than ever. And Ipswich away, I think that's tough. Brentford at home, yeah, could easily be. United away, I think that's also tough. After that, it gets easier, but isn't it a lot of money for a player that we're not sure exactly how he's gonna fit in the new system? Obviously, we have a good idea, but also it's the
Yeah.
whole team has to gel, and it's a brand new manager for the first time in what 7 8 years.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting counter argument that you've presented, Jack. I think there are a couple of reasons, to be very honest. Firstly, when you look at the defensive data for Feyenoord under Arne Slot, they were very solid defensively, and the fullbacks they were very attacking, especially the right back. He accumulated a very high XGI per 90. So we've seen some precedent of the right back being very attacking and the team being solid. Secondly, where do you go for a replacement? I mean, the Arsenal defense is all right, but the opening fixtures aren't amazing. I mean, it's an elite defense, but don't get me wrong.
Oh,
But the opening
careful,
fixtures aren't
careful! It's an
exactly.
elite
Yeah, I mean,
defense.
it is an elite defense, but they're playing Aston Villa, Spurs, and Man City in three of their first five, right? So it's a very good defense, but I don't see too many hauls there from Gabriel or Saliba, right? And Guardiola is all right as well, but even then they have a rough start of the season. Chelsea away, I'd expect Chelsea to score. Similarly, I'd expect Arsenal to score in game week 5. So it's a bit tricky because I don't really see that there's a standout defender. To be honest, I'm just sitting here hoping that the upside hits. It's basically rolling the dice, right? I'm not fully convinced that Trent will haul, but I mean, the guy just needs one 12 or 15 pointer to haul in like first of the 5 games, and he's justified his value.
Yeah.
And I think looking at the fixtures, especially when you look at, for example, Bournemouth at home, Nottingham Forest at home, Ipswich away, there's a haul in there. And if he gets one haul, he'll justify his selection. So I'm willing to take the bet and roll the dice.
I think maybe the thing that's putting me off is I'm looking a little bit at perhaps an earlier wild card in game week 4, which we'll talk about later on, but maybe that's the reason why. Because if I'm swapping these fixtures around in my head, and Forest was game week 1 for example, Bournemouth game week 3, I think I'd really struggle not to put him in. Maybe in the back of my mind I'm just thinking I can get to him game week 4, but that might be a little bit of a fallacy because I don't think that locking in a wild card is a good idea at all. Okay, so Trent's in. Let's move on to the next defender.
Yeah, while you're at the wild card sort of discussion, I'd just like to briefly sort of mention as well that looking at my team, I'm not personally looking to book in a wild card at any point.
Yeah.
I want to be flexible. So basically the core of the team is such that I won't have to spend too many free transfers at the beginning. That's why I basically picked boring players who are nailed for minutes, who won't give me many headaches in most of the weeks. Uh, Once I accumulate let's say a healthy amount of transfers, I can then let's say wildcard if there are any fixture swings, if there are any injury concerns, and then even after the wildcard, I'll have the free transfers in hand to potentially navigate a injury crisis, or if there's a fixture swing, I can then attack. That's going to be fine. So I think the sort of threshold for playing a wild card has actually gone down this season because FPL have allowed us to roll these transfers.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to book in a wild card actually, regardless. I just want to sort of play the way I usually do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think it has gone down as well, but we don't know. We don't know really until we get to that point. Who knows how the game might actually work out in practice. Okay, let's move on to the next defenders.
Yeah, so I have Porro as the second defender. While I'm still not completely convinced about the Spurs defense, and I realize that they're very attacking, and Ange tends to be a very attacking manager. They can easily concede goals in some of the easier games as well. But I just think the upside is there, especially when you look at the first 2 games. Leicester have had a terrible preseason. Everton have had a they've had a really bad preseason as well. I think if you look at teams in terms of their worst preseasons, Leicester and Everton are actually in the bottom three. Uh, those two fixtures are there to attack, and I want Porro for those fixtures. I don't have any Spurs attack. And looking at Porro in preseason, he was very attacking. He was actually uh, first for XGI among defenders last season as well. So we've seen we've seen him have that in his locker just to get those big hauls when the fixtures are nice. And I have him. I'm not going to play him in the tougher fixtures. Now there's this sort of school of thought that says that because he's 5.5, you've got to play in the tougher fixtures. But I'll try not to, especially in the fixtures against Arsenal and Newcastle and United. I don't want to play him in those fixtures. I'll rotate him with my 4.5 defender. And I know your next question is going to be who it is. So
Yeah,
I'll
go for it.
sort of spill the beans. Yeah, I'll spill the beans. I think it's Konza. Yeah, I just like Konza. Just because he's a very robust pick, very solid option, completely nailed. You made an excellent point in our previous stream actually, where you mentioned that he gets fouled a lot in the build-up because he tends to sort of play out from the back, and that's again going to work in his favor for the BPS. That fixture rotation is very very good on paper. I mean, Aston Villa, for example, are playing Ipswich, Leicester, and Everton in the weeks where Porro has those tougher fixtures. So why not? Well worth it.
No, I like it. I like it. I think all my arguments sort of against Porro are the same ones that I have against Trent, but even more, just because I do not back the Tottenham defense at all. I see them conceding in most games, and again with the change to the bonus point system, I don't think Porro will do as well. I mean, first for XGI among defenders is a stat that's very hard to ignore. It doesn't obviously mean that he's going to score or assist every week, but just because I'm playing devil's advocate here to myself a little bit, just because he won't necessarily get as many bonus points as last year, doesn't make him a much worse pick. I mean, if he scores a goal, that's still 6 points as his floor. It's not bad.
I mean, Jack, you're right. I don't expect them to score points consistently, but I just think in one of those fixtures, he's going to hit a 12 or 15 pointer, and I want to own him for that fixture. And if he does, then who cares what he gets in the rest of those fixtures? Like he's going to be, if he gets a 12 pointer in any of those three fixtures that I'm targeting, he's going to be good value, right? So it's fine.
100%. Okay, let's move on to the fourth defender.
Yeah, the fourth defender is actually Konza, the other Konza from Liverpool. Now he's a new addition. I've just actually added him to my draft a couple of days ago. I was very skeptical about him cementing this position because Konate exists. But according to latest reports, Konate is out of favor and the manager tends to prefer the ball playing ability of Konza. So I'm just going to roll the dice with him. To be honest, this slot, it's still up for debate in my team. It's not completely knocked in. But I'm as soon as as we draw closer to the deadline, I'm needing my confidence in Konza is increasing, and I'm needing completion to his selection because at 4.5 with those fixtures, there's not much you can expect. The main thing is that I've spoken to a few Liverpool predictors, a few Liverpool fans that I trust, and they expect Konza just to start for the first 3 or 4 fixtures, which is essentially what I need him for.
Yeah.
And let's say even if he gets dropped after that, it's not really a big deal because, as mentioned earlier, Liverpool have the best fixture run among all teams in the league to start the season with. So I'm fine doubling up. If I knew he was playing the first 4 weeks, it would definitely be in my team. It's just the risk. I'd also sort of like to mention at this point that if I sort of don't end up selecting him, I'm considering Van de Ven from Spurs, again, for the reasons mentioned earlier. He's simply more nailed than Konza. And yeah, I just like these defenses. I know they're not elite defenses, but I still, you sort of put these things into context that the price is just 4.5 million, right? And I still back these defenses over, let's say a Newcastle defense, because I don't really know which 4.5 defender over there is nailed. Similarly with Crystal Palace, I mean, Anderson could leave, for example. So yeah, I just prefer the security of these options. I mean, it's 4.5. We've got to be right. We've got to be realistic with what we're
exactly. And there's also not too much that can go wrong. I mean, Konza looks like very, very likely to start the season. I had a little bit of a concern just with this Brentford game. Obviously, Brentford are a very physical team. Do well from set pieces, throw-ins, etc. I thought there was a chance that Konate might come in for that one just to deal with that aerial threat, as we have seen in the past. Other teams do that sort of thing. But yeah, I agree with you. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like he's just gonna play Kwanzaa.
Yeah, I mean, because I sort of started and looked at their minutes for preseason as well, and Konza's clocked more than double the minutes that Konate has.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, he's played with Van Dijk. So in the previous friendly, Konate was actually playing with the second teamers, and Konza was playing in a full strength Liverpool team, which
Yeah.
we expect to be close to the Game Week 1 lineup. And he's been playing on the right. Virgil's been playing on the left. So I mean, all the signs are indicating that this partnership is likely to continue at the start of the season. So yeah, might as well go for him.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Okay, let's finish things off in the defense. I think I know who you're going to go for here, but who have you got?
Yeah, do the honors. It's actually Barco from Brighton. I'm
Gotta
I'm sure
be.
you would have guessed. It's not a huge surprise. To be fair, his selection in my team isn't completely nailed. Uh, but I still think if I'm picking a 4 million defender, it's definitely going to be him. I know he can get dropped by the time Stupinan comes back, but I just think if there's a 4 million starting defender on set plays, you just roll the dice with him and do not overthink it. I mean, I would rather have a defender on set plays playing for Brighton who may or may not play, as opposed to having a let's say a Fies from Leicester or
Yeah.
Harvard Bellis from Southampton, who are gonna play and get rinsed every week. I just don't see the argument for picking them
Yeah.
over Barco.
No, and he is one of the reasons why I'm quite happy with having Kwanzaa in my team as well. Just because when at the moment where Kwanzaa might come out of the side, who knows? We hope he doesn't. If you've got him, of course, for game week 4 and 5. But that's when Barco's fixtures really turn and get good. And if we do still
Mm.
expect him to be in the team, which I personally do, I know Estupinian might be back in game week 4, game week 5, but I don't think he's going to just jump into the team straight away. I mean, he's been out for a while, and also he lost
Yeah.
his place to Barco last year. Like that, it's not just Estupinian's back, therefore he plays. Yeah, it might take a few minutes off, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for a defender anyway. But yeah, I think having Barco there he just has to be in the team for me personally. Okay, so that is the defense. Now, before we move on to the midfield, now is the best time to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. It is literally the best time of the entire season. So I've got to tell you before we move on, if you want to get even more depth from Bakar, and you've seen the level of depth that we've gone into there just in the defense, then signing up to Fantasy Football Hub and hearing his thoughts each and every game week with his final team reveal article is a great thing to do. Now, the link is down below, currently 50% off. And also, amazingly, and this is legit, by the way, it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. If you do not win your mini league this year and you meet the T's and C's, which are very easy to meet, all you've got to do is just go on the site and put your team in each week and see how it's doing. Then you will get all your money refunded to you from Fantasy Football Hub. Pretty crazy deal. Go ahead and use it before it's gone in a matter of days. Okay, Bakar, let's move on to the midfield. Who have you got?
Yeah, so I've got Saka as my first pick in midfield. Uh, I like having a premium midfielder. I think looking at the fixtures over a long-term horizon, I think there's a chance that by game week 4, I might want Salah. By game week 5, I might want Son. So I want to have the flexibility of jumping on them if needed. And game week 1 and 3 are really good for Saka, and I prefer to start with him rather than Son or Salah. I mean, he's cheaper than 2.5 million cheaper than Salah. That's one of the reasons. I like him over Son because when I look at the fixtures in game week 3, I think I will likely captain Saka when he's playing at home to Brighton. And I want to have an Arsenal attacker for the Wolves fixture as well. So yeah, that's the main reason.
Yep, completely agree with that. And we'll look through your team when it's done. We'll look through it game week 2, game week 3 to see how the team's looking, and especially captaincy. But yeah, it makes sense to me. He's in my team. That obviously means foregoing. Well, we'll see, but likely means foregoing Palmer, Son, as you said. Is there any debate at all for going for any other premium midfielder? I mean, Palmer's sitting at 43% ownership. It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Foden and De Bruyne exist, but there are, question marks over their minutes. I mean, Palmer's a fine pick. I don't mind Palmer, but I personally view Saka and Palmer in a similar bracket, and I think they should have been similarly priced actually. But when you look at the fixtures, game week 1 and game week 3, I would rather captain Saka, right? So
Yeah.
Palmer, for example, has Crystal Palace. We're a decent defense in game week 3. So I would rather go with targeting the Brighton defense.
Okay, next midfielder, who have you got?
The next one is Bruno Fernandes from Man United. Uh, I mean, every single time I want to release cash from my team, he's the one scapegoat I keep looking at. For example, I've been tempted to go with for example, Saliba with Solanke more recently. But still, I've sort of haven't been able to bring myself to sell Bruno Fernandes. Again, he's just a very robust, long-term, risk averse. Like he's basically a match made in heaven for a manager like myself who does not want any headaches in his team. I just know he's gonna play. He's gonna be on the team sheet. I won't be sweating the team sheets. It's good for bonus, chance creation. When you look at XGI for midfielders last season, it was actually first for midfielders below 10 million. So he ticks all the boxes. The fixtures are all right as well. And I mean, I know a lot of people won't pick him because Man United aren't the most exciting team in the world. But contrary to popular opinion, I still think that Bruno uh, has plenty of routes to points, and he's very output driven. So I mean, he can get one assist and he can get the bonus simply because of his pass completion and chance creation. So I like him as a pick. I like him a lot.
Interesting that you're so set on him, and he was in your team as well when we did this video before.
Yeah.
Chatting to Jonas, last year's FPL winner, in yesterday's video, he said the same thing, that Bruno has not left his team since the game launched, and that he is nailed. He's one of the few players that is nailed in his side.
Yeah.
For similar reasons to you, to be fair. What am I missing? As somebody that I'm pretty sure Bruno is not going to be in my team. What is the main thing I'm missing? Because I'm looking at it from the start of last season, and obviously, it's a different season, but he just didn't do that well. Weeks on end, he blanked alongside Rashford, and despite the fact that he himself was playing well, the rest of his teammates were letting him down. I'm just not sure that enough's changed for me to warrant going there.
That's a fair question. I mean, he kept on creating chances and the teammates ended up missing them, right? I would still rather pick a guy who is creating the chances and hope that the teammates at the end of it they convert. Uh, I do think that he was very unlucky not to have scored more points than he did last season. And to be fair, I won't say that he's completely nailed in my team. I'm, let's say, 90% locked on him.
Okay.
But I think there's an argument for Jota over Bruno with the extra
Yeah.
1 million. And it's something that I have considered in my own team. That's why I don't think he's completely nailed because I like Jota as well in a similar bracket for 1 million less. But the security minutes is why he's in my team. And X-Men's are always king because I'm just sort of worried that by the time Game Week 4, Game Week 5 comes, Champions League comes, Jota might end up getting rotated. Well, I won't have any transfers booked in with Bruno. Because I just think, another point I sort of mention here is that this season, now that FPL have allowed us to roll, in excess up to 5 transfers, the value of players like Bruno has increased in my eyes because that basically means that uh, I won't have to book transfers in to remove these players. So I know he has a very good injury record. It's very unlikely that he gets injured or misses a game. So it's very unlikely that I will be using a transfer at any point soon, right? While that might not necessarily be the case with Jota. So while I think Jota might outscore him in the short term, but over the long term, I think that Bruno might win.
I was literally about to ask you about Jota, but yeah, there you go. Summed up very well.
Yeah.
Okay, next midfielder, who is in?
Yeah, Ez is there. I don't think I need to speak much about him. He's very popular, actually. In the absence of Elise, he's expected to be Palace's talisman. I've said it time and again this season that I expect him to be Brian Mbumo of last season. And I just think he has all the tools of being a very good pick at set pieces, penalties, very good stats. Actually, I watched the Palace game the other day in which he played 64 minutes, and he got himself into encouraging positions. I think he had like 5 shots inside the box and created 3 chances as well. So I just think he seems integral to the Palace attack. At 7 million, he seems like a bit of a steal. Under Glasner, we saw last season that they were scoring goals for fun, so I'd expect them to score in pretty much almost all the games they have in the first 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. I think his popularity is very warranted. Can see by his ownership, 33%. Also, just at a lovely price point as well. They say he doesn't do well. You can come down to any of those sort of mid-price players that are in or around him. No one's really competing with him at all.
Yeah, or go up to, let's say, someone like a Gordon, right? If needed. Plenty of
Well, is Gordon going to be in your team?
No, I do have some doubts over his minutes. He's just played like 45 minutes in preseason, and Barnes and Murphy have played more than him. So I'm not sure whether Gordon's going to start. I rate him very highly as a FPL asset. I think he's a good FPL asset, but I'm just not sure about his minutes. So I haven't really considered him. Uh, the thing is, Shaq, this year there's a plethora of options that we have at
Yeah,
our disposal, and
it's great.
when there's so many options. I just tend to prefer the players who are secure for minutes.
Yeah, that's fair with Gordon. I hadn't really considered Barnes. I just presumed that he would come straight back into the team. Obviously, didn't play much. He was at the Euros, but hardly played at all. So I don't think that sort of that time off that he's been given is massively conducive to whether he'll start the season or not. But yeah, you have to look at the minutes in preseason a little bit, and if he's only played 45, then it's not ideal. But there we go. Gordon, I think, is going to be in my team. I just love him. I love two of those first three fixtures so much. Anyway, who's your next midfielder?
And Kunku from Chelsea. Again, I mean, the cost of sort of repeating myself, I think FPL have gotten a lot of the prices right this season, and I think in Kunku's one who I think they've gotten wrong. He's played the most minutes out of all Chelsea players in preseason, and that's the only question mark for me. I mean, if he's healthy, I think he can make a absolute mockery of his price tag. I mean, we've seen the guy has proper pedigree, he's played at the highest level, and with the fixtures so appealing from Chelsea from game week 2 onwards, I think he's a fine pick. I don't even mind playing him in game week 1 actually.
No, me neither. I actually think I saw some people
No
saying that.
Rodri, no Rodri probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean there's a chance
Well,
he hasn't really
that is
featured
massive.
much.
If Rodri's not playing,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
absolutely massive.
There's a chance. I mean, that's what we can assume because like minutes for Foden, De Bruyne, etc. are in doubt. So Rodri is not really featured as much as well either. So he may not
Oh,
start.
well, that is interesting. Yeah, I will say a few people were concerned that Nkunku came off the bench in our last preseason game, but that's because, as you said, he played almost every minute of every other game, if not every minute. So yeah, he's just getting a little bit of a rest really to set himself up for the start of the season. No doubt about that in my mind. Nailed on. I don't know exactly where he's gonna start. I'd expect it to be up top, but that is not 100% sure. But doesn't necessarily matter if he's second striker. He often performs better there anyway. And yeah, it looks great. I mean, he nearly scored an unbelievable acrobatic goal in the last game. It's just
Yeah,
he
so
just looks like he's back. He's back to his best past after that injury. Yeah, he's going to be in my team as well. Okay, let's round things off with your fifth midfielder.
the fifth midfielder is one which I'm playing around with. It's far from nailed in the team. Uh, I mean, I guess you can just keep Harry Winks for now. And I'll have a point 0.5 million spare in the bank to spend.
Okay.
Now I can use, so basically I have 3 or 4 options at my disposal. Uh, First is just to keep the 4.5 in the bank and just let it be. But knowing the kind of manager I am, I will have sleepless nights if I don't use the full allocated quota of 100 million by the game week 1 deadline. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it somewhere. Now that can be used on, let's say Barco to a better 4.5 million defender.
Nah, you're not doing that. There's no way. There's no way you're not having Barco.
I mean, I could, but I like Barco to be honest, but I could get a better defender. He's not like the second coming of Roberto Carlos, is he?
I don't
Right?
know. He just
So,
might be. He just might be.
right. So yeah, more realistically, I think I'll probably upgrade Winks. Now I don't know whether I'll pick Rogers or Bob. I think those two are very realistic options that I'm considering. I'll speak uh, to a few Villa and City fans that I trust, and then I'll sort of come closer to making a decision closer to the deadline, depending on what is being said in the press conferences as well. The good thing about these two is that if they get a return in game week 1 or in game week 2, they're gonna rocket up in price before we
Yeah.
know it. And there are concerns over the expected minutes, and rightly so. I am sort of worried, to be very honest. I am sort of worried that picking a team with Kwanzaa from Liverpool and maybe picking, let's say, a Bob or even a Rogers to a certain extent may force me into wildcarding early by, let's say, by game week 4 or 5. That's something which is a legit concern, and that's why I'm not entirely sure about this option. Otherwise, I mean, this would have been locked in, but that's why it's not locked in, because I understand that it comes with high risk. And if these guys sort of end up losing their place, I mean, we there is a world where, let's say, Barco, Kwanzaa, uh, let's say Rogers, Bob, all these guys, they end up losing their places by game week 4, right?
Yeah.
Realistically. So while I am doing my best to build a very solid, long-term, robust team, it might fall flat on my face, and that's not what I want to happen, right? So I've got to sort of take the pros with the cons, and I'm going to consider this slot. I'm not sure. It could be either of the two, depending on expected minutes. That's the only concern. If either of them is looking better for expected minutes, I might as well, take the risk.
But right now, for the sake of this video, the sake of this draft, if I had to?
I'd just go with wings. I think just go with wings.
Okay. Right, that's the midfield. Let's move on to the attack. One man that you've already said is in there is obviously Haaland. Do we need to speak about him too much? I feel like if you don't have Salah, you have Haaland. It's as simple as that. Just has there been any deliberation since our last like what's happened since the last draft?
Yeah, I mean let's touch upon this because I'm sure a few listeners would not have heard our previous discussion.
Yeah.
There are two things that I'd like to say. Firstly, it's just the fact that with every passing day, Haaland's ownership is rising. When the game launched, it was close to 32%. I think at the time of recording, it's 45%, if not more. And it's only going to rise by the deadline. I expect it to perhaps hit 50%. Not having a City attacker or a City captain, which is Erling Haaland at home to Ipswich in game week 2, could be a real sickener. Now, this is I mean, I can already see some of the comments suggesting that this is a negative way of thinking about it. I think it's not a negative way. I think it's more of a practical way to think about it because you don't want to start the season taking on someone as prolific as at Erling Haaland at his ownership when he's playing Ipswich at home. Because, I mean, the next thing you know, by game week 2, he might have scored a hat-trick and be captained by practically the world and their dog. And you might not even own him. So I don't want to be in a situation where I end up like 20, 25 points behind the curve by game week 2. I mean, it's purely a FOMO pick, but I'm just doing it to eradicate any risk of getting left behind at the start of the season.
I don't personally know why that is seen as a negative way of playing. And I think it is probably the most controversial or divisive sort of area of FPL now between people, but amongst managers that are experienced and know what they're doing. Pretty much the people that are watching this video. If you're watching this, you understand at this point, I think, effective ownership, FOMO, etc. I play the game like you. I just think that a lot of the time we're kidding ourselves if we're saying that yes, 100% this player will do better than this player in any given game week or even across a few game weeks. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I'm not sure. He obviously has the ability to go completely mental, as we've seen in so many games since he's joined the Premier League and before. What's wrong with starting with him and then moving away from him? And as you say, it's very risky with a player like that, not to have him, not to captain him game week 2. And if he does go off and you don't have him, you're what? You're potentially 40 points down on the field. Why?
Yeah, I mean, he can go nuclear, like honestly. And I don't think Salah fills me with the same fear as someone like Haaland, even though Salah has Ipswich as well in game week 1. And I know a lot of people will captain him. He does not really fill me with the same fear. Yes, he can score for sure and maybe even get a brace, but I mean, Haaland is the kind of player who could hit 5 in a single fixture, and I don't think Salah will, to be very honest. So just that potential of going nuclear is one that I'd like to address. I was saying that the next question would be why not both Haaland and Salah? And I just like to answer that I don't like teams with both, to be very honest, because I just think that the squad is it's decimated to quite a large extent, especially the defense gets compromised. So, for example, when you look at combinations, someone like a Saka plus Trent versus, let's say, a Salah plus Mykolenko, surely the former is likely to win on points. Or, I mean, let me put it this way, let's say Salah plus Rodgers versus Saka plus Bruno. I just think the other combination without Salah gives you more balance. It gives you 2 more realistic ways of getting points, and that's simply one of the reasons why I haven't really considered going with the draft with both.
No, that makes sense. It makes sense. Okay, let's move on to the next forward. I'm going to put him in for you. Isak has to be in there. He is one player that I really do not think we need to talk about much at all. He is the most owned player in the game among sort of FPL Twitter circles, YouTube, Reddit. Yeah. He's in every single team. I'm yet to see a serious team, to be honest, without him in.
Yeah, the only point I'd like to sort of mention is that I have the armband, the Game Week 1 armband on Isak, actually.
Yes, we will talk about captaincy. When the team is locked in, we will talk seriously about Game Week 1 captaincy because, I also agree with you. I think he is the best Game Week 1 captain. Actually, you know what? Let's do it now. Let's go for it now. He's captain.
Sure, I think it's very close between him and Saka. Looking at my team, I don't have Salah, so it'll realistically be one of those two, and I think I'll go with Isak. Yeah, I just think Southampton are there for the taking. I'm expecting Newcastle to have a field day, to be very honest.
It's very close in terms of predicted points between him, Haaland, and Saka.
And I mean, the guy has an unbelievable record at home as well.
Yeah.
And he was only like, and he gets so many chances, man. I mean, when you look last season, XG per 90 was only behind Haaland, so he genuinely has that potential to haul big in most fixtures. And I mean, Southampton at home is as good as it gets, I guess.
Yeah, it really is. I do not think you could pick a better fixture than that. Maybe Leicester at home, but it's very, very close. Okay, let's round things off. 6 million to spend then. But you alluded to the fact that you could easily spend another 0.5 on your fifth midfielder. Does that mean that you're going with a 5.5 million man up top?
Yeah, I am. It's João Pedro. Again, similar reasons. I think Brighton are going to have a very good season actually under the new manager. They've looked very sharp in preseason. I've also been considering Minte actually from Brighton at 5.5 million as a mid. I want to have at least one of Pedro or Minte, and I just think with my structure, Pedro probably fits better. There are some concerns regarding his fitness. I'll have a look at the manager's quotes. They were a bit more encouraging, to be very honest, if I read his latest quotes. But I'll wait for the press conference, pre-match press conference, and then I'll sort of come closer to a final decision. But he's there for now, and it'll be actually interesting to see whether I start him in my Game Week 1 squad, first 11. I have him in my first 11 as of now because I think he will start. But he's going to be a very good asset, I think, especially after Game Week 3, 4, 5. His fixtures are really good. Game Week 4 and 5. Ipswich and Nottingham Forest at home. So yeah, good pick. Slightly controversial that I haven't gone with Solanke, who seems to be more popular in the FPL community. But I think that 2 million goes a long way in improving the rest of my team. So that's my reasoning behind João Pedro.
Okay, there we go. That is the team. Let's see the team rating. Let's see if it's improved from your first draft. Okay, Bakar, here is your team on screen, and I think you'll be happy with this. A massive bump of 9% for your team rating, from 86% all the way up to 95%, 65.6 predicted points. That puts you third in the leaderboard, from 10th to third. Good stuff, no?
I mean, very respectable. I'm just hoping that the rating can translate into points. It usually does, but I'm hoping it can again.
And this is worth saying. You still have the 0.5 million in the bank as well. If you wanted to risk it and upgrade Winks, I'm sure that. Well, I'm not actually sure that it would massively benefit your team rating, just because right now a little bit concerned over both Rodgers and Bob's minutes long term, obviously, whereas Winks we know is very likely just to stay in the team and be that steady sort of 15th man for you. But yeah, actually, to be fair, Rodgers' points are slightly higher predicted points, so that could be an improvement. But yeah, overall pretty good, right?
Very, very good. Very, very happy to take the rating. And yeah, I mean, I'm it's sort of reassuring to get that confirmation bias from the algorithm. It always helps.
Guys, if you would like to have a go at beating Bakar's team rating, it's very, very simple. I'll show you on screen right now. All you've got to do is upload a screenshot of your current team into Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool. And just like that, you'll get a team rating. It's completely free to do as well. That's the beauty of it. You can do it with as many teams as you like, as many drafts as you like, and yeah, it's free to do. If you then like what you see and you want to sign up to take advantage of what we're going to look at now, AI recommended transfers for your team, then the link to do that is also down below in the description. Let's get into that, Bakar. You know what? We'll do it live. I don't normally do this. I normally just click away because, it's a little bit of a transition, but I kind of want to show the speed at which this works. So you click on AI transfers at the top, finds transfers for you very, very quickly, and just like that, we're here. Bakar's team with some very, very interesting transfers. Wow. Haaland is gone. He's gone, my friend. He's out of there. He is gone. Salah is in. There you go. Crazy. It's saying go back to what you once knew and loved. But here we go. Before the season starts, every team will get 3 recommended transfers. And Bakar's are Konza to Gvardiol. No doubt an upgrade there. Winks to Salah. A pretty sizable upgrade there as well. But then, of course, Haaland to Muniz. So Gvardiol, Salah, Muniz in. Konza, Winks, Haaland out. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much of a trade-off, to be very honest. I think it's fine. I just think I'm protecting myself against the masses by going with the combination that I've picked. I
Yeah.
don't think the difference in points would be too much between the two combos.
Yeah. Very, very, very reasonable. Does it make you think at all that you could go back to a Salah draft? Or yeah, you seem pretty set on the reason for going for Haaland, and I respect it. I know the comments might not, but I personally do respect it. It's similar to how I play the game. And you know, it's you can go for it more, but it is a bit more risky. It's up to you as a manager how you want to play the game. But yeah, I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can get Salah by game week 4 anyway, if I want. That's fine.
Okay, there we go. Guys, if you would like your own AI recommended transfers, look at the top of the screen, sign up. Best time all season, as I've already said, to sign up right now. You get the maximum benefit, the maximum length of time, and the best deal, 50% off. It's also a 7-day free trial as well. And also, if you don't like it, just sack it off after a few days. You'll love it, but you can. And if you do not win your mini league this year, you get all your money back. How about that? Just a couple of days ago now, until the deadline. Get it done. Don't miss it. Trust me. Bakar, thank you very much. Your final locked-in team reveal is going to be posted on Fantasy Football Hub on Friday. Am I right? Before the deadline.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
So if you want to know what Bakar ends up doing, this is pretty late in the day now, but who knows? Could be some team news, whatever. Then make sure to go and check that article out when it's live. Bakar, thank you very much as always. Up to third in the leaderboard, a big improvement. And
Pleasure,
yeah,
Jack. Looking forward to having a look at your team as well.
well.
Yeah.
Solanke
Yeah,
is
I
in.
mean,
Solanke is in.
you're very shrewd. You take all of these guests on board, you roast them to shreds, and then when you're doing your own team reveal, you don't have any of us to counter you back. So I see what you're doing there.
I should do a team reveal video with myself and edit myself in afterwards and roast myself. How would that go? Or maybe you should come on and roast me. You should come on. You should host it.
Of course, why not?
Yeah.
Of course, why not?
Okay.
I'd love to.
Guys, thanks for watching as always. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Closing in on 100,000 subscribers, which would be great to hit. And we will catch you on the next video.